All right. So might just get into the kind of call a bit more generally. Hopefully, that's enough hack stuff for now. We'll share more information when we can. Obviously, it's interesting and everyone wants to know about it. But I think we'll try and get back onto kind of core Nexus stuff now. So I think where we're at, there's a project we've had a bit of a hiccup for the past little week or so, but we're making some really good progress on a whole bunch of the roadmap items, and I'll get Rox to talk about that in a bit more detail. But I think what I'd like to do for this call is to, well, firstly, just kind of give you an update on roadmap, what we're doing now, early next year, that type of stuff. But then also probably go through two topics in hopefully in a bit more of a discussion type format rather than just me talking. And those two topics would be kind of investment earnings. Potentially, we've had a bit of a discussion about this on the forums and stuff, but we're getting close on release there, so it would be good to kind of get people's input on that, and I can kind of frame the discussion when we get there. And also, I guess it may be worth talking a little about, or some comments about the proposal from Christopher on like the community fund, and because I think that's a bit of a meaty topic that it would be good to get a bit of discussion going on. So perhaps we can tackle that as well. So yeah. In terms of kind of just general update Nexus, and before we kind of get into roadmap, I think there's obviously been a lot of stuff going on, but the one thing I'm really happy about is that there seems to be like covers just keep coming in. The people just keep buying cover, and sometimes quite regularly substantial amounts of cover, and so there's clearly a real need for this product. And while we have even better and more products coming out, the fundamental thing is that people actually need what we're providing. And so our main aim from here is going to be about increasing the footprint and the distribution and the ease of access of the product. And so I think obviously improving products and stuff as we go at the same time, and improving the core mechanics, but we've also got to really start pushing out distribution and partnerships and those types of things. And so we've actually been doing a lot of work in the background on that type of stuff, and so hopefully we'll be able to see some really solid progress on that in the new year as some other integrations and things come online. So I'm really excited about be well and truly glad to get 2020 over and done with and start afresh in 2021. It's been a bit of a obviously chaotic year for everyone, but yeah, really kind of looking forward to a clean slate and building out distribution and sales in 2021. So that's kind of like my real, just very short, high level view of things. And then I might just pass to Rox to kind of give you a bit of an update on the more tactical roadmap. The only other minor one, which is kind of part of what you were saying, is they're looking to redo the governance UI to kind of have it fully integrated into Nexus. And so that's probably one of the last big steps left. And then we can easily integrate other wallets and things like that. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff going on in the background that you may not see from the outside, I guess. Cool. So I think, excuse my kids in the background if you can hear them. I'm just trying to open up the right channel again to make sure I can get the questions as they come in. So I think the one thing that's kind of worth actually, I might just stop there and ask if there's any questions on roadmap, and then we can perhaps talk about investment earnings and investment module and stuff like that. Please come off mute if you want to jump in. You don't have to ask them on the thing. Cool. Hold on. Sorry, everyone. I have way too many tabs and I'm having trouble flicking between things. And I'm on an old PC because my the other one has a few problems right now. Okay, so MCR percent can drop below 100% because we have some DAI in the pool. What happens if we increase significantly the amount of DAI and then ETH increases significantly? Yeah, so that so what that does is it could create a situation where the MCR percentage does go a bit more below 100%, or conversely, when if ETH was to, if we have more DAI in the pool and ETH was to drop in price, then the MCR percentage increases. The goal and what we're supposed to be doing longer term is when you have the MCR, not the MCR percentage, the actual MCR being driven by cover purchases. And that way, when if the MCR then actually moves with the exchange rates, that, so say it's 30% DAI and 70% ETH cover, then the actual MCR would move in sync with the assets. So say you held assets in the same proportions as well, then the MCR percentage, then the assets would move up and down in the same synced with the MCR. And so this is kind of a bit of a quirky thing until we get to a kind of larger, more stable state. So I think this is definitely one consideration that we need to take into account when we decide what we want to do on the investment earnings assets side of things, because it does. If we do allocate to non-ETH assets, then it can introduce more volatility into the MCR percentage until we get to a larger, more stable state. Cool. All right. Fun time with kids in the back. All right. So I think that it's probably a good one to move on to investment earnings, actually. So technically, what we are allowing the protocol to do is to hold any other ERC20, and it will be able to kind of trade via Uniswap in very restricted small batch sizes on a gradual basis with timing blocks and all that type of stuff. So and we'll be able to hold so any ERC20 that has sufficient liquidity on Uniswap and has a reliable oracle that we can, so basically hopefully a Chainlink oracle that we can link in, and then once that's kind of the kind of technical criteria for having the asset included. And then there's a whole bunch of other kind of more businessy type criteria or risk criteria that you want to also consider. And so a couple of those are going to be things like basically that asset liability matching I was talking about before. If you're writing 30% of your cover in DAI based or USD based terms, then you probably want a similar percentage of assets in that level. I don't think that's necessary to start with, and I don't think we should move directly to that. There is about 30% DAI-based cover versus 70% ETH-based cover. I think that's definitely more important to get to over a longer-term time frame, especially when we have more gearing. But given that we're over-collateralized right now, that's not a big thing. So that there's that. There's a secondary consideration is the risk that you take on by investing in other assets. And so, for example, to give you some context, most insurance companies, traditional insurance companies, would invest in like bonds or infrastructure investments. So basically, long-term, maybe somewhat illiquid for some portions of the portfolio, but long-term, low risk, relatively low yield bearing assets. So you want to earn a decent return, but you want to be closer to the risk-free end of the spectrum than the riskier end of the spectrum. And I guess one of the unique things about what we're doing here is we also want to make sure that we don't accumulate too much risk by putting our assets into the same smart contracts that we're covering, because then if there's an issue with the smart contracts, we lose assets and we have to pay claims. So we have to be a bit more careful there. And so we can do it to some extent, but we should be wary and put some caps on that. So I guess I'd like to please unmute yourselves and put some comments forward, because I think this is one of the most important things we can do long term for the mutual. It's not necessarily something we have to get to right now massively critical, but long term it's very important from an economic point of view. So I've also got some ideas about what I think we should do in general, but I'll stop there. And if you have any questions or would like to put some ideas forward or discussions, then please jump in. No, Krugman, did you have any? I think that's you. Be interested to hear your points of view on this one. Yep. Yeah, we can hear you, Christopher. Yeah. No, thanks. That's a point that's been raised quite a few times by a few people. I tend to agree with it. Um, I can give you my personal view on what I think we should do. Um, I think we should allocate something like um, 10 million, two lots of 10 million or some number around that to staking ETH 2.0 staking derivatives once they launch and have enough liquidity that we're okay with. Because I kind of think that that's basically one of the perfect investments for Nexus. It's ETH denominated. It gives us a relatively secure ongoing yield, and we can take the liquidity risk over the longer term. Um, in terms of do we want to allocate something to USD based investments, like I basically say some, but very minimal. Mainly just some cash to make sure that we've got some funds there to pay out any claims, but nothing material. So I don't know, maybe something like 1 to 3 million in DAI or something like that. But there is also the option of pulling that if we need to when claims come in. So that's kind of a something to consider. But I think keeping the strong ETH link is kind of going to be important over the short to medium term, call it 12 months, something like that. So I'm just going to flick back. I don't know if there are any questions in the other channel. I can't quite see it easily without flicking a lot. Um, yeah, so I think that's what we're discussing. Yeah, I think there's definitely worthwhile having a discussion, and I don't think it may not be right now, but it might be early 2021 once we have a few of the staking derivatives that are actually live. So I guess one example is like Lido, and I guess I'm assuming Coinbase and others like that will release a staking derivative. Maybe they don't. Maybe they, I don't know. I'm not sure. But the point being that there needs to be a E2.0 staking derivative token that gets traded on Uniswap and has sufficient liquidity. So we don't have to like. There's no options right now, but I expect them to be coming, and so I think we should be having these discussions now so that we're prepared and can take advantage of the additional yield. And so it probably makes sense to have some level of criteria that we want to be comfortable with, because there will be some obviously risks involved with these staking derivatives, because essentially they'll all be custodied in some way, shape, or form right now, because until I'm getting at the wrong phase. I think it's phase 1.5 when of ETH2 that the staking becomes tradable. So until we get to that point, we're not going to be able to have trustless stuff. So we'll have to make a decision on what we think is the best option there. Does anyone have any strong views on particular projects or any ones that they see launching soon that we should be looking at? That's probably a good one to look at as well. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I think. Sorry, just check if there's any other questions. Um, yeah, I understand it's been laid out in the community forum. Can you recap at a high level what target allocation buckets will be for the capital pool? How much in cash, stables, etc. So I think this is going to be a gradual approach, and I think we start by allocating 10 to 20%, something like that, into things, and then we increase it over time. What we should be doing longer term is we should be getting to a point where we basically have some small level of cash to kind of pay claims as and when they're due, and you kind of have obviously people purchasing cover or kind of refilling that cash bucket, and then out goes for the claims. And so hopefully you're in a situation where that's just kind of in and out, and you don't have much call on the kind of invested side of the assets. But the whole kind of aim in the longer term is to kind of invest nearly all of the assets, like 95% or something like that, in yield bearing protocols on the lower risk end of the spectrum mainly, but that doesn't mean that there isn't some opportunity for a smaller allocation to a higher risk aspect. So that's kind of the way I see it. Kind of maybe something like 10% of the, longer term, 10% of the assets in higher risk, 80 plus percent, 80, 90%, 85% something in like lower risk yield bearing, and then a very small proportion in cash. That's kind of where we should be aiming to, but it's going to be a gradual approach of getting there and picking. Like I think ETH 2.0 is kind of like the perfect asset for us. It's ETH denominated, it's lower risk, it's yield bearing, and it's kind of quite uncorrelated to the risks that we're currently taking on the claim side. So I think that's going to form the biggest chunk of our investments in the shorter to medium term, and then it can probably expand and get some diversity from there. But I'd really like to hear if anyone has any different opinions on that. Cool. All right. Well, we might just leave it there, and we can continue the discussions in the forum. I think obviously we haven't quite launched yet. That's probably going to be in January now, and the E2.0 staking derivatives aren't kind of fully live yet. So the big decisions probably have a little while to go on this side, but they probably will come relatively soon in the new year. So I think that's definitely something we should be picking up, and one thing that'd be good to do is come up with like a criteria that we're kind of all comfortable with to decide which ones to go in to invest in. And so I guess I've asked one of our advisory board members, Ray, to kind of put together a bit of a criteria list on that type of stuff, and he'll be sharing that in the new year, and hopefully we can use that as a basis of a more detailed framework to decide what to do. Cool. All right. So unless there are any more comments on that, I might move on to the community fund aspect of things. Christopher, given you're here, sorry to put you on the spot, but did you want to give a bit of a background on the post and some context around it? Yeah, cool. No, I think so. I think that gives a good background. I think one of the most obvious questions, and I posted on the discourse, the forum, um, earlier today, was why, like, why do we have it separately to the foundation that exists? Why don't we just give extra tokens to the foundation, etc., and do it from there? Um, I guess my point of view on this is the longer term. We don't really want the foundation to exist. It kind of needs to exist in the medium term to kind of harden the protocol and build out a whole bunch of stuff. But over time, it should reduce in its need to be there, and we kind of need to kind of progressively decentralize and exit slowly to the community. And so I think this is kind of the first um, material step in kind of doing that. I guess the other thing is the foundation is it's a legal entity. It has a bit more restrictions and stuff around it. It can it's got a few quirks because it's a community interest company and there's a few legal requirements on that, and so that puts some like tax and other flexibility restrictions on it that the community fund wouldn't apply. And also I think there's a bunch of stuff um, that could be supported out of the community fund that would be quite helpful for the protocol. That would be a bit difficult for the foundation to build itself or to support directly. So the fact that there is a community fund that's a bit more it's more decentralized will I think give us a bit more flexibility and options to do a variety of things. I also really I actually also really like this from a ownership point of view. It gives something for more community members to get involved in and more opportunities to contribute, not just participate in the network through staking rewards or whatever, but participate in other ways, like form a working group to discuss exactly what to do with the investment earnings and come back with a proposal and go from there. And maybe there's um, some NXM there from the community fund to kind of pay for that work, because I think it's critical that we pay for valuable work to the mutual, because I think that's how we're going to get success. We can't just rely on people giving their time freely. Um, so yeah, in general, I think um, it's a great idea. I really strongly support it. Um, so yeah, I encourage you to get involved as much as possible. But it'd be good to get some more comments from the community on what you think about it and what any concerns might be. Why not divert the sales spread rather than do a mint? Yeah. Yeah, I think diverting the sales spread obviously requires smart contract work, and that's never fast. So in my mind, it makes sense to aim to get there for medium term, but it might make sense to do a one-off mint as a kind of a bridge. Oh, we've got a few people typing. Yeah. Yeah, I guess in general, it's there's maybe a more of a philosophical point here somewhere, and we've been on the kind of very, I guess, harder end of the spectrum in terms of like token mints for rewards. But I guess a lot of other projects, especially recently, have minted quite a lot of tokens. Um, and so this proposal probably sees us moving a small way along that spectrum, but I don't think materially very far. Um, and it seems like a worthwhile thing to start experimenting with. I think what I've learned all from observation of a whole bunch of the token rewards and minting and all that type of stuff is that it's very, very hard to get it right to start with, and you need lots of iteration and experimentation to kind of get to a model that works. Um, and I also fundamentally believe it's good to get to a position where it's sustainable, rather than just kind of mint inflation forever. So um, I think this type of approach feels like a good balance between a bridge to kind of get there. I mean, I think it might be helpful if we can like you know some principles or something. It's hard to mandate never doing something because someone can just essentially override the mandate anyway. It's a DAO, but but I think there's you can always have like a strong principled argument, just a strong principle that we only want to do this once unless there's really really strong evidence to do it another way, I guess. But or more from a philosophical point of view that we can set up, our philosophy is to only mint when, like, in more kind of extreme circumstances, I guess, where there's clear, very, very, very clear benefit, and we want to stay as close to fundamental value type stuff as possible. Anyway, I'm sure there's better words to do it than what I've just come up with the top of my head, but I guess you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, sorry, just catch up on questions. Feel free to come off mute and talk if you'd like to as well. Okay. I might just wait a minute until there's any more questions coming through on that one. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. If anyone wants to raise more, yeah, please just jump in the forum and put your points on this forward. I think the point about principle about we don't really want to mint more tokens after this. I think it'd be good to get that on the forum and discussed and get a wider get people to comment on it, because I think that's a valuable perspective to get a bit more clarity on. So yeah, some more comments there would be great. If there is, I guess I'm going to open it up a bit more widely now. If there's any other topics that anyone else wanted to bring up and that they'd like to discuss, then I'm just kind of opening up the floor in a bit more generally. So yeah, please chime in. Okay. A few people typing in the channel, so just wait for that. Any development tracing the hacker? Yes, some. Can't really share too much, to be honest. But some stuff's going on. Yes, and your new avatar. I do like your new avatar. We're still running. We're still running diagnostics and stuff on the PC. I think the most important thing is to work out how it happened, so that the wider community can be more protected against this type of stuff. How's a good question? How's an exit to the community influence the KYC requirement, if at all? So yeah, it's probably worthwhile just generally commenting on KYC and that kind of approach. So right now, there are a few kind of things that are done a bit more centrally by the team, like paying rewards for staking, the pricing. The quote engine is off chain right now, and some of the capital stuff is still off chain. And so we're looking to basically remove all of those off chain points, or push them all on chain, so that it all kind of runs via the smart contracts. And so at that point, we then have a and then we then have an option to kind of more fully decentralize things. And so I think there's definitely a point in the future where the mutual would have an option to essentially shed the legal wrapper. So the KYC requirement is linked to the legal wrapper, and so the legal wrapper has benefits and disadvantages, and not having a legal wrapper obviously has some benefits and disadvantages as well. And so I think. I think at some point in the future, once we remove the kind of more like team controlled stuff, then we have the option to remove the legal wrapper and go to a full DAO. That has some, as I said, that has some positives from the kind of full DeFi decentralization point of view. There are some negatives from that. That yeah, that I think we need to discuss at that point. But it's definitely an option that I think we have in the future. And if the members want to vote to remove the legal wrapper, then I think they can drop the KYC and go from there. So I guess so. So as a team, we're basically working towards giving the members more of a specific option to get rid of that requirement. Whether the members want to take it or not, it's a decision at that point. That's the direction we're headed. There's a strategy to increase proof of stake. Yeah, I'm with Christopher. Sorry, I'm not sure what that one means. Point of sale. Yeah. Yes, definitely. One of the big focuses is going to be on distribution. So we have like a distribution contract that's currently in audit, that basically will allow anyone to deploy a distribution contract, kind of like the Wine contracts, and but there are multiple other ways of doing it as well. But the idea there is that then someone can become a distributor and incorporate that on their site. I see there's kind of two broad groups of people that could be distributors. There's kind of like the protocols themselves, where they could either simply buy here type of stuff on their site, and then there's also the kind of what I call aggregators, like consumer aggregators, so like the portals into kind of DeFi, so Zappers, Zerion, Argent, Gnosis Safe, those types of consumer aggregators, and then hopefully we can integrate with them as well. And so that's going to be we believe that's where there's going to be a lot of growth from, and we're focused heavily on it. It takes a bit longer because we've got to get the contracts ready; they're nearly there, but it's kind of partnership by partnership stuff. And so yeah, it takes a while, but I believe that's kind of where the long term benefits are going to be. Great, cool. I don't know. Team Rocks, is there anything else that I've missed, Kaylee, that or anything that we should go through? Great. Cool. I'll just check the questions one more time in case there's anything there. Yeah, thanks everyone for participating. We will give updates on the hack when we have them, and looking forward to kind of getting back to more normal stuff and actually shipping some things in the new year. So thanks for all your support so far, and yeah, looking forward to a more engaged and active community in 2021. So yeah, thank you all, and have a great holidays if it's your holidays and stuff. Cheers.